Most Minecraft worlds have billions upon billions of blocks. This world has one. In this video, I'll be surviving 100 days in one block skyblock. So grab your snacks and let's get into it. It all begins on day 1. Every time I break this block, a new one spawns. I made a crafting table and then some oak slabs. I also made a shovel to get through this dirt quicker. Then I was gifted a pig who almost tumbled into the void. I moved my slabs up so that they'd be in line with the special block. I was then given a bucket of water and had to go underneath the island to place a slab under the special block. After getting a chest known as a benevolent gift, it was time for my first upgrade. Now we're on to phase 1. The plains. I extended my island and built a pen for my one pig, but it wasn't long before that one pig became 2 pigs. I then got a cow who really didn't want to go in the pen. I told him he could either stay here or go to McDonald's, and he chose the pen. I was then given a plain chest, and it definitely lives up to the name. I added a couple saplings to my island and got back to work on the block. I got a sheep and then some chickens. I reinforced their pen, and there is a good reason for this. This isn't my first time playing this mod. I actually spent a week recording this video and then died, meaning I had to start all over again. The reinforced fence will come in useful later. This chest was full of leather, which I crafted into a nice hat. I don't know why I felt the need to show everyone this, but here you go. The rest of the night was spent mining the block and making my animal pen so crammed it would make any health official scream in terror. I broke enough blocks to be given an upgrade. Now I'm on to phase 2, the underground. I crafted a wooden pickaxe, mined 3 blocks of stone, and now I'll never use the wooden pickaxe again. I felt slightly bad for the animals, so I extended the island and then their pen. I give it 2 days max before it's crammed again. I mined some more stone and then crafted a stone axe, as well as a sword. I chucked my iron in the furnace and used it to craft some shears. I borrowed some wool from the sheep and got started on my island. I tried to turn it into a circle, but miscounted. I figured out how to do basic maths and then made myself a bed. My first good night's sleep. My island had a problem known as a massive hole in the floor, so I did my best to fill it in. I mined the special block and was getting a few pieces of iron. I was also given my first mushroom, which I could endlessly milk for free mushroom stew. While I was trying to move it in the pen, one of the sheep made a run for it. You're not having your wool back. Get back in the pen. My inventory was kinda full, so I dumped some stuff in a chest before replacing my final wooden tool with its stone superior. I must be at an all-you-can-eat buffet because I just got a second mushroom. After mining some more blocks, I came face to face with my first enemy. A zombie. He punched me, so I punched him back with the sword. Wait, that doesn't even make any sense. Never mind. I still needed to fix the hole in the floor problem, so I expanded the tree farm. I then used my last piece of iron to craft a shield. The noises of the animals were starting to drive me insane, so I got to work building them a new area. I ran out of wood almost immediately and got back to work on the block. This chest made a cool noise, so it must be good, right? Yeah, no. I managed to get through a total of 5 more blocks before my pickaxe broke, and then a spider spawned. His brain forgot to spawn, and I took him out with ease. I was peacefully mining some ores when a creeper showed up. I had to be super careful not to fall off the island while fighting. I took it down with only mild panic, and then got to work on the new animal area. I guess I was expecting an entire army of livestock because I built this thing about 10 times bigger than it needed to be. I then decided this pen, made of renewable wood, get rid of it. Let's make it out of dirt instead. You know, a block that only spawns from a special block and is also crucial for farming and growing trees. Trust me, it hurts me just as much as you to watch this footage. I used my shears to collect some leaves and use them as a wall for the pen. My morning was interrupted by another creeper visit. I missed a sword crit and he nearly blew up in my face. I wanted dirt to finish my awful animal pen, so I mined a special block. I got a chest with some spruce saplings, which was actually a nice gift. Oh, it's so painful. Look at me happily running back to gather more dirt. Some spiders spawned, but they froze in fear. They took one look at the dirt island and realized I was a psychopath. I did at least start planting some saplings on the island, so it wasn't completely going to waste. I had enough iron to craft myself both a pickaxe and an axe. A health inspector spawned to take a look at my animals, but I removed him from the property. After getting some more dirt to waste on the island, I got a chest with a map. It will be cool to see how much the base changes as we go through the 100 days. I broke the chest and it was time for another upgrade. Phase 3 was the icy tundra. I patched up my island and placed down some torches to stop any monsters from spawning. Day 6, a huge spruce tree grew, which I thought was awesome. Actually, it was not awesome, it was awful, and it will make sense later. A wolf spawned, but unfortunately I didn't have any bones to tame it. Then a stray appeared. The wolf chased after it, but got sent flying into oblivion, leaving me to finish off the stray. I got a chest with some iron and seeds, which reminded me that I needed to start a farm. I planted some saplings and decided to turn this pointless dirt island into a wheat farm. Little did I know, my dreams were about to be crushed. You see this? That's the realization that you can't use a hoe on Podzol. I planted all the seeds I had and used my 1 bucket of water. I took down the animal pen and started moving them over to the island. The pigs and chickens were really easy since I had carrots and seeds to make them follow me. I needed to keep my wood supply up, so I cut down some trees. I grabbed some leaves with my shears and finished decorating the island. If it's gonna be a waste, it might as well be a good looking waste. I even built this cute little leaf archway. While mining the special block, a stray duo spawned. My shield was extremely useful for keeping their arrows at bay. They got into an argument and it didn't end peacefully. I killed the winner, but I really need some better gear. Being on half health isn't my idea of a good time. I realized this tree farm and animal pen combo was even worse than I thought, because when the trees grew they could suffocate the animals. I mined the special block some more, which was a lot easier with my shiny iron pickaxe. A couple of foxes spawned, and this is the reason why I built that double fence on the animal pen. Foxes will kill every chicken they can find, and seeing as animals are extremely limited on Skyblock, I didn't want my only source of KFC becoming extinct. I also got a chest that was actually good. Both the gold and the bone meal will come in useful. I didn't want to, but I had no choice except to kill the other fox. They're adorable, but it was either that or lose the chickens. I used the bone meal from the chest to fully grow one of my wheat seeds, which meant I could finally move the cows, sheep and mushrooms into the pen without any problems. I also patched up the last hole in my island and removed the old tree farm. I then got to work on the area around the special block. Some polished andesite looks a lot better than basic oak slabs. I added cobblestone around the edges to protect myself from any monsters that might spawn. I got an idea for a staircase design and started adding slabs. I was really happy with how it turned out. I added some oak trapdoors to the roof of the cobblestone box, as well as some stairs on the side and a gate on the front. I started setting up a storage system on top of the pavilion. I also added some leaves to the back, but I only had a few left. I went to the dirt island to get more and realized it was a complete mess. Animals were in places they definitely shouldn't be, and the whole place was impossible to navigate with all the trees. So I decided to sort that problem out later and instead worked on the storage system. If you get organized at the start of your playthrough, it will save you a lot of pain further down the line. I got rid of my leftover chest by the special block and then smelted some iron. I was finally able to craft my first piece of iron armor. I also made an axe because my old one broke. I went to the dirt island, thought about fixing it for a solid 5 seconds and immediately decided no. Instead I made a hole in the back of the block area so that I could push enemies off if I needed. A fox spawned, which I once again had to kill. I really hate doing that. I also really hate these strays and their slowness arrows. As I did some more mining, this absolute legend spawned. I called him Baymax and he's gonna be my best mate. Seeing as growing trees on the dirt island was a disaster, I added 2 areas to grow trees on the main island. I decided to add leaves around the edge too, because they look nice and they're gonna stop me from falling to my death. Mainly because they look nice. The stairs looked like they were missing something, and these spruce logs were the perfect final touch. One of the big spruce trees had already grown, so I chopped the whole thing down. I also didn't fancy mobs spawning on my island at night, so I added some torches. I found an enderman the next day and gave him a free boat. Then I cancelled his life subscription. I put my iron tools to the test on the special block. I was beginning to see more ores, but it was still slow going. Some strays spawned and the hole came in useful. If they stopped fighting each other, they might have actually had a decent chance against me. Another wolf spawned, and now that I had bones, I could actually tame it. It says best friends forever, but that spot's going to Baymax. I then battled my first monster party. The spawn breaks blocks around the special block, which meant instead of being contained, they all managed to get out and attack me. I'm not gonna lie, I might have actually died here without my wolf. The zombies with iron swords destroyed my health bar, but my wolf took them down. I fed him some rotten flesh to get his health back up and then realized there was still a stray left. It came out to attack me and my stone sword took a lot of hits to cut through its leather armor. I took a look at the ruins in front of me and realized I had to make some serious improvements to the box. I brought the gate forward by 1 block and raised the roof up to stop it from being demolished. Something about the front looked ugly, so I changed the entrance to spruce stairs and trapdoors. More strays spawned, but like usual, the idiots just fought each other. I went to check on the animals and nearly had a heart attack. Because I picked up an egg on the way in, instead of putting my shield up, I just threw the egg. The whole thing was honestly pretty devastating for the playthrough. Both of the sheep and both of the mushrooms were blown up, which meant I had no easy way of getting wool and no more free food. But if I gave up now, I'd have wasted all my time for nothing. I moved the animals off of Dirt Island and then placed down some diorite. I then began constructing a wooden platform under the island. If you break Podzol without Silk Touch, it turns back into regular dirt. The diorite was used to mark out where the Podzol was. I placed down all my newly acquired dirt and now it truly was Dirt Island. I then began work building a new area for the animals. Hopefully this version's creeper free. I finished the new island the next day with some spruce slabs. I was running low on leaves, so I had to visit Dirt Island to gather some more. I once again built an archway made of leaves for the entrance. I also added leaves around the edge because they would look a lot nicer than using fences. I think I'm going to call this place Animal Island. Really original. I coaxed all the animals onto the new island and added a gate. I expanded my tiny farm and now it's slightly less tiny. I went to go chop down this tree but my axe broke, leaving me to punch the tree with my bare fist. I finished off the day by organizing my items. I was working on the special block when more strays spawned. I only lost 1 heart this time, so at least I'm getting slightly better at fighting them. Not long after, a snowy fox spawned and I missed the axe crit. I'm sorry man, it's either you or the chickens. I got a chest, but all it had was bone meal and snowballs. I expanded the tiny farm again and got back to work on the block. Another wolf spawned and I tamed it. I got into a fight with a stray and didn't take a single hit. He dropped an iron helmet with 0 durability left. How does that even work? I got another frozen chest with nothing useful, which really sucked. I wanted to get an ice block so that I could get more water and make an infinite water source. Now that I had a few pieces of wheat, I bred the cows together. Soon this pen's gonna fully represent Alabama. I tried to melt this ice from a special block, but it was packed ice, which meant that wouldn't work. I finally mined enough blocks to get to the benevolent gift, which gave me a piece of ice. I tried for an embarrassing amount of time to melt it before realizing I could just punch it to turn it into water. Now that I finally had infinite water, I added a bunch of slabs to Dirt Island and waterlogged them. I decided to turn the entire area into a farm. I broke the benevolent gift and now I was ready to move on to the next phase. Phase 4 was the ocean. This phase had a ton of nasty surprises that I was really not looking forward to. And the first horror of the deep. The first twisted creature. Oh. I decided I wanted to keep this turtle around and pushed it out of the box. I'll help it out later. I got my very first diamond, which I stashed away in my painfully empty valuables chest. I harvested the wheat from my farm and was able to expand it just slightly. The block spawned a squid, which I just murdered. The block spawned a drowned, but he was the most chill drowned I've ever met. We hung out for a while and then I did what needed to be done. A salmon spawned, and it was the tankiest salmon I've ever met. This thing ate sword crits for breakfast. While I was chopping down a big spruce tree, one of my wolves teleported to me. I was worried he would fall to his death, but I managed to get him down without any problems. I fought with this tropical fish and it leapt off the edge of the island. I guess that's one way Finding Nemo could have ended. I then got possibly the worst chest of the video so far. 2 eggs, seagrass and snowballs. I finally had enough iron to craft myself some leggings. I got started on day 16 building a long bridge. It needed to stretch pretty far out from my island. The reason for building all this was that I wanted to make a mob grinder. I really needed more bone meal so that I could expand my tiny farm. While working on this, I was painfully aware that if I fell off, I wouldn't be coming back. I ran out of wood multiple times and had to chop down the big trees in order to get more. Although for some reason, the tree on the left refused to grow. There was enough space for it to grow, but it just wouldn't. My tiny farm was starting to expand, which was a great feeling. Also, the whole time I've been building the mob grinder, I've been increasing the population of Alabama. I headed up to the mob grinder for what I thought would be the last time. I added in all the trapdoors and completed the roof. Although when I went to add the water, a creeper had already spawned, which I had to take care of. I placed down the water and to my surprise, it didn't flow all the way to the chute. It was then that I realized I had built the entire thing 1 block too big. My stone axe broke almost immediately when I tried to fix the spawner. I crafted a wooden one and got to work. Any other sane person would have gone down to their chests and made a new stone axe, but I was filled with nothing but determination. Well, actually, I was filled with nothing but frustration. 1 wooden axe could barely get through one side of the mob farm, which meant I had to craft more than 1 extra. I could have just made a stone one, but I just had to be stubborn. 1 angry British man and countless wooden axes later, I had finally removed all the sides of the mob grinder. I replaced all the walls and placed all the water. After that, all I had left to do was to remove all the torches, and I always feel like something's gonna spawn and kill me when I do this. I crouched down in front of the spawner, which was a huge mistake. Turns out creepers can actually see you from inside the chute. By the time I had crafted some more slabs to fix the explosion, the grinder was already overflowing with monsters. I got an enchanted bow from one of the skeletons, which I used to shoot the skeleton horse. For those of you that are confused, if you go near one of these things, you'll get jumped by 4 skeletons. Not exactly ideal when I don't even have full iron armor. I stayed at the mob grinder for a bit longer because it was giving me so much XP. Now that I had unlimited bones, I could spam it on this tree as much as I liked. It still didn't grow. The next day I visited the mob grinder again and continued to gain tons of loot and XP. This must be the most beefed up tree in the history of trees, but it still wasn't growing. It used to grow perfectly fine, so I don't have a clue why it suddenly doesn't work. I'd spent the last few days building, so it was time to get back to work on the block. I got my first sunken chest, which had absolutely nothing good in it. I was running a little low on food, so I crafted some fresh bread. It makes me feel hungry just saying that. Today was a good day, because I got my second diamond. Then the game finally spawned what I had been dreading. An Elder Guardian. The Thorns effect is insanely annoying because even though it wasn't hitting me, I was still taking damage. Eventually, it squirmed around so much that it squirmed itself out of existence. I decided it was finally time to give the turtle a proper home. It was going to be a pond right in the center of the island. That's my boy. No, my boy! Father, help! I decided to just build the pond anyway, because I might get another turtle. And I also wanted an excuse to use prismarine. I used a mix of prismarine bricks and regular prismarine for a nice texture. Baymax, this pool was not made with you in mind. I lined the edge of the pond with dark prismarine and then visited Alabama. Unfortunately, the population boom is showing no signs of slowing down. I went ahead and killed all the monsters that were currently in the grinder for some easy XP. I was determined to get another turtle, and before long I actually did. I pushed her in the pool along with Baymax, who still refused to get out, and then chopped down some trees. I managed to flood my island because I placed the water at the wrong height, so I had to get rid of it all with some sponges. I fixed that mistake and now it's complete. The water with these shaders looks insanely nice. I used all the coral I've been getting from the sunken chest to decorate the pond. I love how it all turned out. Dirt Island was seeing some major farming improvements. Before long, it should be completely filled with crops. Am I gonna drag this Alabama joke the entire way through the video? Yes. Yes, I am. My peaceful morning was quickly ruined by the arrival of a monster party. Despite my roof improvements, it was still getting destroyed. I first waited for the Guardians and Elder Guardians to jump off the island. Once they were gone, I killed off the drowned, which didn't seem nearly as friendly as the first one I encountered. I repaired the hole they had made in the floor and then got to work making a new roof. Now that it's 1 block higher, it should hopefully stop getting demolished. A wandering trader showed up and had nothing of value. It's not like I had any money anyway, but he could have at least made an effort. I went back to work on the block and a drowned spawned in. This one was mad about not being invited to the monster party and had to be removed from the premises. He actually dropped his trident, although I have no plans to use it. I also replaced my leather helmet with an iron one I got from the monster party. Dirt Island was finally starting to produce a decent amount of crops. I chopped down some trees and gathered up the leaves to keep my supplies up. I got a sunken chest with a scoot and some seagrass before finding a tropical fish. I actually managed to save it by grabbing some water from the pond, and now it has a new home. I did the same with another salmon. Maybe I can get the pond teeming with fish. I bred my chickens for some reason and then planted more seeds on Dirt Island. Most of the day was spent working on the block. I got another really useful chest filled with coral and then a guardian spawned. He didn't stick around very long. I had enough iron to craft some boots and now I finally had full iron armor. I just kept getting these really useful chests with coral in them. I got a music chest, but an entire diamond for a jukebox is way too much to ask. The chest also gave me a book, which I wrote a poem in. It's a work of art, really. I won't say the word. I want to though. I mined through a few more blocks and reached a benevolent gift. It gave me a few buckets of fish and a trident. To be honest, I'm happier about the fish than I am the trident. I broke the chest and had to wait 50 seconds for the upgrade. While I waited, I crafted a new iron helmet to replace my current one. I then reached phase 5, the jungle dungeon. From experience, this is way more annoying than the ocean. The phase kicked off by giving me some parrots, which are kinda cool. Then the worst part of the phase appeared before me, Vexes. I hate these demonic flying babies with a burning passion. Although the good part is they mostly fly under the island and never come back up. I stared at the bridge connecting my mob spawner to the island and realized it was just boring. I crafted up a bunch of snow blocks because I had an idea. I was going to cover up the ugly bridge with a special area for Baymax. I had to mix in some dirt because I didn't have enough snow for the entire circle. I gathered some spruce leaves because I felt they fit a lot better with the snowy aesthetic. I even added a nice little spruce wood archway. I planted some spruce saplings as decoration. I didn't actually want them to grow. I then introduced Baymax to his brand new home. With that done, I started connecting up the area to the mob spawner bridge. By adding a curve and some height variation, the path already looks way nicer. I added leaves on the sides like usual. My axe broke and I decided to take a break. I did a little bit more work on the block before making a tiny cocoa bean farm. I don't really have any use for them, but it can't hurt to have some spares. Dirt Island had finally become a full-fledged farm. All it had taken was a nearly fatal explosion that resulted in the loss of several priceless animals. I visited the unnamed state and then convinced this parrot to be my friend. Nothing like some good old-fashioned bribery to start your day. I crafted some more bread and then got back to work on the block. 2 ocelots spawned, and does anyone remember when you could tame them and they would turn into cats? I got a variety chest with a variety of garbage and then got back to mining. I got a panda, who I named Finn. I was preparing myself for a Vex spawn, but a witch showed up instead. She had the worst aim I've ever seen. That wasn't even close. I would have messed with her more, but she'd already poisoned all the animals in the pond. Luckily, everyone was fine. I got a chest that made a weird noise, so it must be good, right? No. I did use one of the orchids it gave me to get blue dye and used it on this wolf. I threw the Vindicator spawn egg off the island because realistically, when would I ever want to use this? I mined the block some more and got some horses. I don't need or want these guys, but I didn't want to kill them either, so I just pushed them off the edge. Karma got me because almost immediately after, a pair of Vexes spawned. Thankfully they don't have iron swords like the ones summoned from an evoker, but they're still insanely annoying. I got another diamond which I immediately ran in and grabbed. I crafted a diamond pickaxe which meant I finally had a decent tool. I used my spare iron to replace my stone axe and shovel, and things were looking good. I farmed my crops and visited the Pen of Shame. I decided to change the gate at the back of Baymax's island. This design worked for about 2 seconds. My new tools were crushing everything the block gave me. After 27 days of having mediocre tools, this felt like a huge upgrade. Some Vexes came along to cause problems, but they were quickly taken care of. What wasn't going to be quickly taken care of was this monster party. This parrot moved at just the wrong time and I accidentally killed it. I took out all the Vexes, including this one just hanging out in the pond, and then I got to work on the rest of the mobs. The witch went down to my bow, and the spiders might as well have been non-existent. I also realized those spruce saplings I planted on Baymax's island actually could grow. I hadn't been to my mob farm in a while and it was teeming with monsters. I went back to work on the block, but these stupid Vexes were constantly spawning. I checked on Animal Island and things had definitely gotten out of control. Me and this Vex were having a great time until he decided to try and stab me. Nice try. His brothers came for revenge the next day and they nearly succeeded. It's so hard to hit these things. I got a diamond and then a musical chest with the best disc. Then I got yet another diamond. A witch tried to take them from me, but she got kicked out faster than a Clash of Clans player who doesn't participate in the clan war. I got a chest with sugarcane and knew I had to start a farm. I didn't want to build a huge island dedicated to this stuff, so I instead decided to build a mini island between the dirt and animal islands. I built the farm in this checkerboard pattern for no other reason than it looks nice. That's something you have to get used to when watching me. I always go for the aesthetics over the functionality. I mean, if you couldn't already tell by the massive island of dirt I built on day 4. I placed some water in and planted my only 2 pieces of sugarcane. Day 30 I started adding water to all the slabs. This was a long and tedious process, but I'm the guy who rebuilt his mob spawner with a wooden axe. I'm used to this. Alabama was so overcrowded at this point that I had to do something about it. Now I have enough food to last me all the way to the end of these 100 days. I used my 2 spare diamonds to make a diamond sword because it would still be a while before I could get obsidian to craft an enchanting table. A witch spawned and used the shadow clone jutsu, but she was no match for my new sword. Also, these variety chests are atrocious. Some more horses spawned and I decided not to push them off the edge. I'm sure that's a great decision that I definitely won't regret in the future. Then my best friend showed up. We had such a good time together that I asked them never to show up ever again. I was minding my own business mining the special block when a witch showed up. The fight was over before it even got started. I wanted to get out of this phase as soon as possible because the Vexes are not good for my sanity. Luckily, it wasn't long before the benevolent gift showed up. This one even had a diamond, which was great. The next phase turned out to be the Red Desert. A skeleton had showed up in my sugarcane farm looking for work. The interview didn't go to plan. I added a few torches to hopefully stop any more people from applying. I decided I wanted to build an area for Finn the panda and also for jungle related farms like bamboo. My block choice was extremely limited and I didn't have much dirt to spare. Maybe this is what Beyonce meant by a concrete jungle. I feel like most of you are too young to get that reference, which is pretty depressing. I'm 18 years old, but I already feel like a dinosaur. I planted my only jungle saplings and collected the wood. I got really unlucky with sapling drops and only had one left. I was able to get one from the last tree and things picked up from there. While I waited for the leftover trees to break, I started mining the special block. I got given some llamas which I have absolutely zero use for, but maybe they just need to expand their horizons. The bamboo I had planted was growing insanely fast. Back at the special block, I was given a fox, which I had to kill. I don't really care about my chickens, but maybe I can use their eggs for a cake or something. I was given another fox, and I really didn't have the heart to kill another one. I named him Naruto, and I tied his lead to a fence to stop him from mass murdering the chickens. Griffin the villager spawned, and he would be key to this entire playthrough. I needed him alive at all costs, so I put him in a boat and then built him a cobblestone prison. House. My sugarcane had finally grown, which meant I could expand the farm a little bit. I made a huge jungle tree and chopped the entire thing down. I was already enjoying the desert phase a lot more than the jungle one. I was running low on oak leaves, so I had to gather up some more. I heard llama noises from Animal Island and realized a wandering trader had spawned. Once again, I had no money, but his trades were garbage anyway. I collected some jungle leaves because they would fit the theme of the island a lot better. I ended up running out and had to collect more, but by the end of the day the island was finished. The terrible cobblestone island. I added a gate made of jungle wood which took me a while to pull off because it was diagonal. I used some bamboo to get Finn onto the island and wow is he slow. I fed him some bamboo, which he seemed to really like. For some reason I started giving up on this tree and tried to grow jungle saplings instead. It obviously didn't work. I harvested the sugarcane and planted everything I got. I looked out over my island and had a look at the map. It's definitely changed a lot since I first got it. I built some stairs leading up because I needed to make Griffin and his future family a home. I really wasn't sure what to build it out of. Skyblock can sometimes be a builder's nightmare because some blocks are extremely hard to get once the special block stops spawning them. I eventually decided on some good old spruce wood. This place is going to be a circle like everything else because circles are cool. Unfortunately, I placed the slabs on the roof too low and had to remove them. I wanted this place to look like a small pagoda, so I went with a relatively flat roof design. I finished the roof and had to place ugly torches on it in order to stop anything from spawning. I got to work detailing the build. I stripped the spruce logs because they look a lot nicer that way. In terms of windows, I didn't have much choice and ended up going with some fence posts. I filled in the sides with some wooden trapdoors and I'm really happy with how this place looks. I realized Baymax was trying to visit the mob farm and I had to get him back onto his island. I needed beds for my villager breeder, aka Griffin's house, but thanks to that stupid creeper, I had no sheep. I had to craft wool with string from my mob grinder, and I only had enough for 3 beds. The sugarcane farm was finally gaining in size. I placed down some leaves leading up to the villager breeder because I doubt me or the villagers would enjoy a 1,000-foot drop. While placing leaves around the outside, I forgot to sneak and very nearly walked straight off the edge to my death. I was a lot more careful placing the rest of the leaves. Now that his new house was finished, I could finally free Griffin from his cobblestone prison. This guy was giving me major anxiety as he casually walked along the leaf railings. I pushed him right back in the boat and realized I could just use a workstation to get him inside. He also had exactly the trades I wanted. I needed more beds ASAP and visited my mob grinder in hopes of getting some spiders. Unfortunately, I only got a couple pieces of string. I mined the special block and it spawned an entire pack of husks. They couldn't defeat the groundbreaking technology known as a fence gate and died to my diamond sword. This phase was a lot faster than the jungle because blocks like terracotta break extremely quickly. Some pillagers spawned, but they were super chill. I didn't want to have to stab my new friends and instead pushed them off the island. The following day I mined some of the block before visiting Dirt Island. This place was once a wasteland, but now it's a beautiful field of crops. After replanting everything, I sold most of it to Griffin. Kind of unfair how he spawned in and got money and I didn't. The 7th generation of whatever. They were pleased to see me. A wandering trader spawned in. This time I actually did have money and bought some pink dye. I could have killed him, but I decided to keep him around in case I ever wanted to buy his other trades. I harvested the sugarcane and the farm was nearly complete. I got back to mining the block and some donkeys spawned. I definitely should have pushed them off because my island is getting overrun with animals. When the next set of donkeys arrived in the world, they didn't spend much time in it. I got a buried chest with some acacia saplings, but acacia is a C tier wood at best. I visited the mob farm to get more string and only managed to obtain 5 pieces. I had 2 spare pieces of wool and was able to add a 4th bed to Griffin's house. A Vindicator spawned, but he didn't have his axe, so he kinda just looked like he wanted a hug. We're starting off bright and early by pushing this llama into the bottomless void. The block kept giving me llamas and I kept pushing them off. I was running kinda low on spruce wood, so I chopped down the tree that actually grows. I really wanted to move these donkeys and horses off my main island because they were really starting to get on my nerves. I looked all around my island, but I wasn't sure where or what I wanted to build. I gave them a fate worse than death. I sent them to Alabama. A monster party spawned and to my surprise they all lined up to be killed. A nice pillager had spawned, so I just had to nudge him into the void. My gold had smelted and I used it to craft a second golden apple. They're really good for emergencies. I also filled every available space on the farm with sugarcane. I visited the mob spawner in hopes of getting some string, but got a pathetic 2 pieces. I began the next day by chopping down some bamboo. While mining the special block, some more vindicators who wanted hugs spawned. Tracy the villager showed up and she doesn't know just how important she is. I introduced her to Griffin and it was love at first sight. Well, I think it was. Who knows what goes on behind those huge foreheads. I needed crops in order for Griffin and Tracy to make kids, so I bone mealed the entire field. I gave them the carrots and also placed down a blast furnace in order to make Tracy become an armor smith. I went to the mob farm like usual to try get some string and got a little too close. For some reason, when I patched up the hole, I used cobblestone, which is going to bug me for the rest of the video. Day 40, a creeper was trying to camouflage itself amongst my sugarcane, but I would never fall for that. I decided it was time to stop sleeping outside and finally build myself a proper house. In order to build a path going downwards, I had to use the water trick, which was definitely not good for my heart rate. One accidental press of the shift key could send me flying into the void. I started work on the house, although it's more of a room than a house. And yes, it's a circle. You think I was going to use inferior shapes like a square or a rectangle? I realized when I placed my crafting table that all these slabs were on the bottom half, which meant I had to remove the entire thing and rebuild it from scratch. I also had a sword fight with this distinguished gentleman. I used some spruce logs as well as prismarine for my room. Seeing as I'm going to sleep in here every night, I might as well deck it out with some rare materials. After some experimenting, I realized I needed to extend the entire build by 1 block. It felt a bit too cramped with 3 block walls. I put some sand in the furnace to smelt and grew my first dark oak tree. I turned the wood into slabs and used them as a ceiling, which I thought turned out well. I used the glass I smelted to create a see-through floor, which already makes this room way cooler. I'm going to use this back entrance later in the video, but for now I'm going to block it off. Knowing me, I would probably fall off the island if I didn't add a barrier. I spent the night failing miserably at trying to make a good looking custom bed. My iron axe broke, so we're back to a stupid wooden one. Because the only thing in here is going to be my bed and my enchanting setup, I wanted my bed to look a bit cooler than the standard Minecraft bed. I tried the entire night and only managed to make something that resembled a vampire's grave. I started day 42 by hurling my wooden axe into the void and making an iron one. I then used my new axe to destroy the monstrosity I had created. Also, Baymax had somehow escaped his island and made his way into my room. Don't ask me how he did that because I want to know just as much as you. He's a polar bear, but he must have had some kind of training as a ninja. I stacked some jungle leaves on top of composters and it actually looked decent. I added some dark prismarine around the edges of the bed and was actually happy with the finished product. Hey, do you guys remember that stupid creeper who thought he could hide in the shoe? Wait, what? The second creeper chased after me, but he was already weak from his partner's explosion. In my defense, it was pretty hard to see the creeper when the sugarcane's 3 blocks tall. I knew I needed to light up the farm, but I wasn't sure how to do it without removing some of the sugarcane. Then I realized I could use jack-o'-lanterns. I replaced some of the spruce slabs with these glowing pumpkins, and now there should be no more creeper visits. I visited the mob farm like usual and it was stacked. Instead of only getting a couple pieces of string, I walked away with 27. And that was only enough for 2 more beds. If only one of those sheep had survived, my life would be so much easier. Dirt Island was once again a plentiful field of wheat and carrots which I wasted no time harvesting. I gave all the carrots to the happy couple because 1 child is nowhere near enough. I also sold the wheat to Griffin for an incredible 3 emeralds. I got to work on the special block and Just go away. I got a chest that made a weird noise and it had weird loot to match. I guess it is called an odd chest after all. You guys could open the gate, you know. You do have arms. A pillager spawned and I always feel bad killing these guys. They just don't do anything. Then Veronica appeared. She sold Podzol, which would usually be complete garbage, but over here, that's really useful. She told me she had a Facebook sewing group to meet up with, but that's gonna have to wait till later. I used some of my precious emeralds to buy the Podzol. Remember, dirt is hard to come by on SKYBLOCK. I then headed off to sleep in my brand new bed. I was mining away at the special block when this Vindicator gave me the most painful hug of my entire life. In return, I gave him the most painful stabbing of his entire life. I got a chest with possibly the worst loot I've ever seen. Redstone and bones? Really? I visited the villager family and had to buy some iron helmets off Tracy to level her up. At max level, she'll start selling diamond armor, which will be insanely useful. On SKYBLOCK, diamonds are extremely hard to come by, so being able to trade for the armor instead will be a massive help. I used the Podzol I bought from Veronica to add a little more colour to the sad jungle island. It's definitely the worst island out of all of them, except maybe Animal Island because of those poor cows. I used some leaves to make my room blend in more with the island, and it worked really well. It looks a lot more natural now. Well, as natural as a floating building in the sky surrounded by other floating builds can look. I got back to work on the block and my diamond pickaxe was destroying the terracotta. I unfortunately did have to escort some more tourists off the premises, but I'm sure they enjoyed their stay. Can we talk for a second about how I'm level 48 but still haven't been given any obsidian for an enchanting table? I finally reached a benevolent gift, signaling the end of the phase. I organized my items and... oh, what's that, Veronica? That's a great idea, actually. I visited my mob spawner while I waited for the upgrade to take place, and we finally reached phase 7, the Nether. Veronica hanging out by my chest was starting to get pretty annoying, so I put her in a boat and parked it off to the side. I'll let her out sometime, called never. I went to the jungle island to grow an oak tree and saw an iron golem wandering around. It must have spawned thanks to Griffin and Tracy's growing family. Now that we're on to the Nether phase, the cobblestone box was due for some security improvements. I patched up the hole at the back and took the new iron golem into the box. He gets to fight all the enemies, I get all the rewards. The villagers must really like their security because they had already spawned a new one in. Or maybe they just like giving me gifts, because now I have some shiny new iron. I decided to finally work on the path to the mob spawner. Yes, I'm making a new one. No, I don't have perfectionism issues. I've muted the game audio while I build this platform, because the sound of all the monsters in the farm would probably destroy your eardrums. I added leaves to the path like usual, and I think it turned out great. I still hadn't gotten over the creeper incident and was a lot more careful while harvesting the sugarcane. I was going to harvest the crops too, but they weren't quite ready yet. My villagers had supplied me with some more free iron. They're just too kind. I took down what was left of the old path and now this unused snow island is perfect. I covered the backside of my house in leaves because it definitely looked out of place. I decided to finally get started on the Nether phase. I remembered blazes can spawn in this phase for obvious reasons and added an extra layer of cobblestone to the front. If a stray fireball flies out of here, my island is going up in flames. Some piglins spawned, but they got deleted in about 2 seconds. I started off day 47 by patching up the gaping holes in my sugarcane farm. I began harvesting my crops because they were mostly fully green. Breaking a bunch of crops in Minecraft is definitely one of the best feelings. I headed over to the villager breeder to give them their daily rations. I noticed Naruto no longer had a block in his mouth and tried giving him a carrot, but he wasn't interested. He was interested in a shiny emerald though. My wallet was crying from buying all these iron helmets, and so was I. I'm never going to financially recover from this. I headed up the path to my mob farm because it's time for an expansion. I want to build an iron farm, but like all farms in this game, it's going to look painfully ugly. That's why I'm going to put it as far away as possible from the rest of my island. And did I put leaves on it? Of course I put leaves on it. Now it's day 48, or as I put in the chat, 487. I expanded the path a bit more and started work on the island for the iron farm. I needed to make sure it was far away so that the iron golems spawned where I wanted them, and the jungle island seemed a little bit too close. So we're back to extending the path. How entertaining. I started building the island once again and finished the base by the end of the day. Jungle Island had some more iron on legs, but I nearly messed up while trying to collect it. You can see the panic as I tried to punch the golem with my fist. Thankfully, the second one was a lot easier. I broke the blocks I'd used while Finn watched me with judgmental eyes. I then went over to the breeder and sold Tracy the pieces of the iron golem. I don't even want to start on how morally wrong that is. These dark oak leaves still hadn't disappeared, so I had to pillar up and break them. I got back to work on the special block and was given some ancient debris. Immediately after that, I was given obsidian. I'm starting to enjoy this phase. The block then gave me even more debris. I guess it's my lucky day. I got another of these garbage odd chests with a wandering trader spawn egg. My storage was overflowing with items, so I added another chest. I used the spawn egg inside Baymax's old pen. Like Veronica, this trader also sold podzol. It was so good to finally be getting obsidian and know that soon my gear would be getting some huge upgrades. This iron golem was hanging around my storage system and I needed to get rid of him. Nothing personal, you're just kind of annoying. I needed beds for my iron farm, but I only had enough string to make one. I got started building with what I had. These 3 pods are going to be relaxation chambers. I checked up on the makeshift iron farm known as Jungle Island and it had produced some more iron. Some disassembly required. The less Tracy knows about this iron, the better. My sugarcane farmer produced loads of sugarcane which I turned into paper. I then made a bunch of books and then turned those into bookshelves. I needed more leather and Alabama was doing a free giveaway. I placed the bookshelves in my room, ready for when I get an enchanting table. While trying to break this chest, I accidentally hit the iron golem. I was worried at first but realized he couldn't fit through the door to attack me. I got given a strider, which I really didn't care about, to be honest. After selling some iron to Tracy and buying a pair of chainmail boots, she hit journeyman rank. I bought more shields than anyone could ever need and she hit expert, meaning she finally started selling diamond armor. I wanted to make money as fast as possible, which meant many more iron golems would meet their demise. In order to accelerate the growth of capitalism, I got back to work on the iron farm. Although I built one of the relaxation areas on the wrong side, which meant I just wasted half my glass. Luckily, I had some more back at the main island and was able to finish the first part of the farm. I needed more beds and my mob grinder provided plenty of string. Now that the spa was finished, it was time to invite some lucky villagers over. I got one in a boat and moved him down to my house where I thought things would go smoothly. I was wrong. This guy parkoured up my house, went around Jungle Island, and then tried to walk through the wall. Any more volunteers? I got myself a new villager and made sure to break his bed. This time it went a lot better. I used a bed to make him go where I wanted and eventually he headed into the spa. I was able to get a second one in before the sun came up and now the difficult part is almost over. I decided I had been using a stone hoe for too long and upgraded to an iron one. I went ahead and started harvesting my crops because crops equal money and money equals diamond armor. I found an escaped villager and tried to capture him, but he sprinted away. After some confusion, I realized he wanted to get to the composters in my room, which gave me an idea. I became Mr. Beast and told him that the first villager to collect the most composters would win a free spa experience. Oh wow, you won! Have fun being stuck in there forever. The strider was still hanging out in the cobblestone box and I finally got rid of it. Then the game finally gave me a good chest. 2 netherite scraps? Sign me up. I then got treated to the most horrific sound I've ever experienced while playing this game. This is with the volume turned down, by the way. I made sure all the villagers were asleep in the iron farm and then replaced the beds in the breeder. I went back to mining the block and a few piglins spawned. They weren't exactly a huge challenge. These infernal chests are actually really good. I got a lava bucket and a blaze rod, both of which are extremely useful. I turned the blaze rod into a brewing stand which I donated to Griffin and Tracy's estate. I then used all the money I had to buy some diamond leggings from Tracy. It's good to finally be wearing blue. The iron farm was still missing its final component, a zombie. I built a small platform near the farm in hopes that I could get one to spawn later. I didn't really have much else to do until the night, so I worked on the block. A blaze spawned, so I waited outside the box until it stopped trying to barbecue me and then I killed it. I decided life would be easier if I just had an iron golem to take care of all the enemies for me. Once night fell, I waited at the iron farm for a zombie to spawn. I turned the render distance down in case my mob farm was affecting the spawn rate. Nothing seemed to be happening, so I expanded the spawning platform. I saw a rich zombie in the distance who had managed to spawn on the path. Unfortunately, he couldn't hold an item, which meant he would despawn. Eventually, a pair of zombies showed up and one of them was able to grab the bone I threw. Trying to get this guy up to the farm without falling off the edge myself was not an easy process, but after some patience, he walked up the stairs and straight into his capsule. Now that all the difficult parts were done, this iron farm should be a smooth ride to the end. I had to switch to mossy cobblestone by the end because I ran out of regular cobble. I placed down my precious lava and then added the water to the farm. Oh, I forgot to add a fence gate to stop the water from pouring through. I made sure to add a fence gate to stop any mistakes from happening in the future. I took my anger out with the mob grinder and then sold off some rotten flesh to the cleric. Day 54, I got back to work on the block. I once again accidentally hit the iron golem, which meant I unfortunately had to get rid of it. I got a variety chest with some lapis, bamboo, and lily pads, and then I saw I had a spare book and quill in my storage system. It was time for a new poem. Lava is like Cheetos. They're both orange. After that pure artistry, I went around harvesting my crops. I sold what I could to Griffin and traded a few gold bars with the cleric. I had just enough emeralds to buy a pair of diamond boots from Tracy. Halfway there to full diamond. The block tried to ruin my morning with some blazes, but I easily took them out with my bow. I got another piece of ancient debris before having to fight these hoglins. I actually once had to scrap a 100 days jungle only video because I died to these guys. I had some spare iron, so I added an extra hopper to my iron farm for when it actually works. Also, thanks to my mob farm, I had actually collected all the pieces of chainmail armor. I got back to work on the special block and was given a second chance at completing the iron farm. I rushed over and placed my newfound bucket of lava in the farm. With this finished, everything was about to take shape. I was about to... Wait, what? You see, the fence gate I made for the farm was made of oak wood. You're supposed to use the warped or crimson wood from the nether because they can't burn. I placed down some signs because they can't be burnt by lava. I literally tested this in a creative world just to make sure. I grabbed some leaves and placed them around the farm before heading back to the block in hopes of being given a third chance. I tried to trade with these piglins, but they got turned into zombies before we could strike a deal. As if this day couldn't get any worse, a monster party decided to show up. The gas suffocated and I took care of the blazes with my bow. After that, it was just left click until everything died. I then did some more grinding on my mob farm. This day ranks as second worst in the entire video, just behind day 12 when my sheep got blown up. The next day I was given a chance at redemption. After so much trial and error, the farm finally worked. At last I had a reliable source of iron. A strider spawned and I was in such a good mood I decided to save him. Hopefully he doesn't find out what happened to the rest of his family. I was doing some more mining when more hoglins spawned. I honestly can't express how much I hate these things. They do insane damage, have tons of health, and send you flying backwards. I reinvested the iron from the iron farm into some hoppers, which I use for the mob grinder. Now my inventory won't get clogged every time I visit. I traded all the rotten flesh I had to the cleric, and why does he even want this stuff anyway? Probably best not to ask. I was mining away when two wither skeletons tried to jump me. As an apology, one of them gave me his head.
It's kind of hard to see in this.
Regardless of the lack of defense or style the skull gives me, it did give me an idea. Originally I was only going to fight the ender dragon in these 100 days, but what if I tried to do the wither as well? I was minding my own business mining the block when this guy spawned, screamed his head off and tried to blow me up. Apart from the last part, that's exactly like annoying little kids at restaurants. Now that my iron farm was regularly producing iron, I was easily able to get Tracy to master rank. I was too poor to buy the other two pieces of diamond armor, so I got back to work on the block. It had finally given me enough obsidian for another portal, and now all I had to do was figure out where to put it. For those of you wondering why I haven't made an enchanting table yet, it'll all make sense in a minute. Anyway, I wanted this island to be distinct from all the others. It wouldn't really make much sense to have a portal to hell decorated with leaves, would it? I made a circle out of netherrack, but it was too big, so I scaled it down. After that, I filled it in and began using some red nether bricks for the border. I used some basalt to look like a small ruin, with some of the pillars being placed on the side to look like they were knocked over. I built the nether portal using my 10 obsidian and lit some of the island on fire to make it feel more like the nether. I experimented with using stairs on the side of the portal, but it just looked wrong. I visited the iron farm and sold off everything to Tracy, before buying a diamond chestplate. Who said money doesn't equal happiness? It was finally time to make a visit to the nether. I had a fairly okay spawn, although I placed down some netherrack to stop myself from accidentally falling off this ledge. And here's the reason why I didn't make an enchanting table first. The portal in the nether always generates with obsidian on the corners, so I could just steal from that instead. I finally crafted myself that precious enchanting table. Work smarter, not harder. I crafted a grindstone and then it was time to get to work. I immediately got an absolutely godly pickaxe enchantment. I was able to get Silk Touch on my shovel, Protection 4 on my chestplate, Efficiency 4 on my axe, and Protection 3 on my leggings. The only thing I didn't really get anything good for was my sword, with the best offer being Sharpness 3. Day 60 kicked off with some farming. I gave the villagers a bunch of bread and carrots before selling some to Griffin. I crafted a lectern because my next goal was to get a librarian to sell me mending. My sword wasn't looking too great and I didn't want my other stuff getting worn down over time. This golem was resisting his fiery demise and I had to give him some encouragement. Hey Tracy, do you want to buy some iron that I definitely mined myself? The iron trade was super profitable and I was able to purchase the final piece of diamond armor. For day 60 of Skyblock, this is insane progress. I re-enchanted the helmet and was given protection and unbreaking 3, which I'll happily take. My new tools absolutely annihilated anything the block could throw at me. I traded all my iron with Tracy and was going to trade gold with the cleric, but he had raised his price to 3 ingots per emerald. I instead put the gold to good use by making a third golden apple. I'll be needing more of these in the future. Some more hoglins spawned and couldn't even tickle me thanks to my new armor. Oh no, half a heart, whatever will I do? Nothing like getting a little god complex over a block game. The day kept getting better as I got an infernal chest with 2 more netherite scraps. Although the next infernal chest I got wasn't quite as high tier. The sound's also missing for the next 5 days because OBS likes to cause me problems. I grindstone my diamond sword and was offered Sharpness 4. Because of the missing sound, I'll keep these next few days brief. My upgraded tools breezed through the Nether Phase and I was given 3 netherite scraps in the benevolent gift. The next phase the block gave me was idle, Lidl. I then prepared my inventory for a trip to the nether. I needed to brew potions, which meant I needed to get some nether wart from a nether fortress. Off in the distance I saw a bastion which I decided to head over to. I kept my distance with a bow because even with my upgraded armor the piglin brutes were still incredibly dangerous. The loot was definitely worth the risk because I got a diamond pickaxe, some ancient debris and a gold block. This was a stables bastion and I completely forgot that you can actually get nether wart from the center. I just headed off in search of a fortress. I explored the silent nether some more and finally spotted a fortress. I had to fight through hordes of blazes and wither skeletons, but eventually found some nether wart. I also tried for way too long to knock this ghast fireball back. When I returned to the overworld, this strider died because it was raining. Saves me from having to push him off, I guess. Day 64 started with a really nice rainbow. I love these shaders. I crafted some fermented spider eyes, which I used to brew some weakness potions. I'll need those to cure zombie villagers. This villager was trying to jump through the wall, so I let him do his thing. Turns out he was able to telepathically sense these barrels somehow. But this actually gave me the perfect chance to get a mending librarian. By the end of the day, he was finally willing to give me the book. I traded him some paper in order to lock his trades. The next morning, I was getting a new worker. Friend. This one's gonna be a weaponsmith. The final villager I needed was Tracy, who I got in without any trouble. Thankfully, this is the last day without sound. You're probably wondering why I'm building this wooden platform. I'm gonna turn the 3 villagers I've gathered into zombies and then kill them. Once they're back to normal, they'll have no memory of my crime and even think I saved their lives. This also means they'll thank me by giving me their trades for insanely cheap prices. I began moving Tracy over to the platform the next morning. I was worried she would fall off, but everything was fine. After putting her in a minecart, I did the exact same thing with the librarian, who I'm gonna name Tristan. And now we finally have sound. Do you hear me walking on those wooden slabs? I moved the armorsmith over, who I'll name, Rebecca. Why not? I got her in a minecart and everything was ready to go. I also built a roof over the villagers to stop them from burning up from the sunlight when they get turned into zombies. If you're wondering why I didn't use boats for the villagers, it's because the zombie would get in the boat with them, which would cause me a massive headache. I visited my mob farm for some easy XP and then started work on phase 8. After getting honey blocks, I was fairly certain this was a bee related phase and my suspicions were proved correct when an entire swarm of them spawned on me. They're not dangerous or anything, just annoying. This red chest had a lure 3 book, which was completely useless. I'm on a floating island, why would I be doing any fishing? I checked to see if any zombies had spawned, but all I got was a spider and a creeper. I waited a while, but nothing seemed to be spawning. It was probably my mob farm that was causing the issue, because once I turned down my render distance, the zombies started arriving. I killed all but one and led him onto the island. Unfortunately, he seemed to want to zombify me a lot more than the villagers. Luckily, he had an attention span of about 10 seconds, which meant once I ran off, he was more than happy to chew on some villagers. Make sure you leave a 5-star review at the restaurant. I went over to the villagers to cure them and realized I had a huge problem. The zombie had pushed them around in their minecarts and they were no longer underneath the protective roof. The sun was rapidly coming up, so I had to act fast to stop these villagers from getting fried to a crisp. Once everything was safe, I began curing them. They used up 3 of my 4 golden apples, so I was gonna need to craft some more. Griffin, don't worry about your wife, she's just feeling a little green right now. That was the worst joke I've ever made and I deeply apologize. The special block gave me some cats, but I wasn't really that interested. I noticed Naruto was straining at his lead and realized he wanted to kill this baby chicken. I was about to end its life, but I gave it mercy. What, you don't get emotionally attached to animals in a block game? I headed over to my iron farm and was informed that one of the villagers had been cured. After sorting out a small blockage in the farm, I headed over to the villagers. Now that they were cured, their trades were basically free. All that was left to do was take them back to the villager breeder. I decided to take Tracy first because I like her the most, although she was acting a little strange on the way back. She almost died trying to get back into the house because she thought walking on a thin leaf railing was a smart idea. Eventually I reunited her with Griffin. Rebecca was up next and she was also taking a sweet time to move. Night fell as I was getting her back and I switched to using beds. The next day I started moving the last villager. I've already forgotten what his name was, so his new name is Martin. While moving him back, he got in the boat with Veronica. Then I accidentally smacked him with an axe while trying to get him out. I bought a bunch of mending books off him before he got mad about his missing arm and decided to raise all his prices. I got him in the breeder and now it's one big happy family. Seeing as Tracy was now basically giving me diamond armor for free, I bought some extra pieces off her to do some more enchanting. I also leveled up Rebecca because she was trading 1 emerald per piece of iron. Finally, it's me scamming the villagers, not the other way around. I enchanted a new diamond sword with sharpness 4, which I could combine with my old one later on for sharpness 5. I also managed to get protection 3 on this extra helmet. I grabbed some iron from the farm and used it to make an anvil. I then combined these boots to get feather falling 4, and the helmets to get protection 4. Rebecca also hit master rank, which meant I could buy diamond swords and axes from her now. I then harvested my sugarcane in order to trade paper with Martin, who didn't seem to mind about the fact that I'd hit him with an axe earlier. Day 69, really? Anyway, I grabbed my daily iron supply and went over to the villagers. Unfortunately, Tracy and Rebecca hadn't refreshed their trades, so I headed over to the mob spawner to kill some time. I can't wait to scam these idiots. I didn't say that. I made absolute bank by selling iron and then crafted myself a diamond shovel. I started mining the special block and it spawned some tiny slimes. Is this supposed to be a challenge or babysitting duty? Like, what's the point here? I got given some brown donkeys, which I decided to keep. One of them fell off while I was moving them to Alabama and I assumed he was a lost cause. It turned out he was still attached by the lead. I tried my best to save him, but he catapulted upwards and hit the floor too hard. I got my lead back, so I'm honestly not complaining. I did some more grinding to get to level 30 and managed to get protection 4 on a pair of boots. I combined them with my other pair and now they're essentially maxed. I know they're missing Thorns, Depth Strider and Soul Speed, but they aren't really that important for Skyblock. The next day I was given a skeleton horse, which I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do with. I mean, I can't really ride it anywhere because I'm on a floating island in the sky. I mean, who even needs a horse? Oh my god, a zombie horse, I've changed my mind. I began brewing some potions in preparation for the future Ender Dragon fight. This phase is definitely the most random out of all of them. A bee-themed phase doesn't really make much sense. It gives you so many different blocks, I had to spend a lot of time each day just clearing out my inventory. I was pretty starved for XP, so I spent a while grinding my mob farm. I realized an iron golem was resisting the water, pushing him towards the lava, but when I pillared up to kill him, he gave up. Nothing says bad morning like getting Unbreaking 3 and nothing else on some diamond leggings. I sold a ton of iron to Tracy and then went back to my mob grinding. After getting above level 30, I revisited the Villager Breeder and bought another diamond sword from Rebecca. This time I got protection 3 on the leggings, which I could combine with my current ones for protection 4. I remembered I had a crop farm and spent a while harvesting and replanting everything. It's been a while since I've visited Alabama. I wonder if these guys miss me. I actually needed leather for books, so some of them had to go. Martin was selling Unbreaking 1 books, which I could combine together to get Unbreaking 3. I'm pretty sure Tracy knows where this iron's coming from, but she doesn't even care. I'm glad she's on board. I was offered Smite 4 on this diamond sword and decided to take it because it would come in useful for the Wither fight. I then combined a bunch of diamond leggings together to create the ultimate pair of diamond leggings. I also merged these swords in order to get sharpness 5, but didn't have enough levels to also add unbreaking and mending. I've been meaning to get rid of this temporary platform for a while and decided day 72 was as good a day as any. I set fire to as much of it as I could before my flint and steel broke. A few slabs survived, but I'll take care of them later. That's a promise. To stop the villagers from trying to rush over, I replaced the composters in my house with grass and trapdoors. I was given a variety chest, and there was certainly a variety of stuff in there. I added some redstone to these potions of slow falling to extend their duration. I then experienced the weakest monster party I'd ever seen. Bees, tiny slimes, and phantoms. Terrifying. I also pushed this donkey off the island for reasons I've already said 100 times. I ended the day by waking up Tracy and Rebecca in order to sell them some illegal iron. I spent most of the next day AFK in my mob farm. I wanted to avoid AFKing in this video as much as possible, but I really needed the XP. I then enchanted this bow with power 4 and added unbreaking to it. I got back to mining the special block and... I'm sorry man. You just serve zero purpose for this island. More terrifying and dangerous bees spawned, and they even did a few hearts of damage for once. My valuables chest was getting pretty cramped, so I converted my riches into solid blocks. I then saw Naruto had jumped in the pond for some reason. I guess he really wanted to eat some fish. I got him out of the pond, but I guarantee he'll jump back in again. While mining the block, I had to fight some slime bodybuilders. I say that because there was no way they were surviving hits from a diamond sword without some serious muscle. Although this phase was incredibly random, it had loads of quartz, which my efficiency 4 diamond pickaxe could cruise through. I reached a benevolent gift and it had a cake in, which was a nice present. While I waited for the block to upgrade, I spent some time at the mob farm. When I returned, I saw that not only had Naruto jumped in the pond, he'd also killed another fish. The block upgraded to phase 9, which was called Desolate Land. That sounded like it would spawn stronger monsters than the bees and slimes of phase 8, so I decided to reinstate the Iron Golem guard. I think I'll call this one the Terminator. You know, Naruto, it would be really helpful if you could stop jumping in the pond. I added mending to my chestplate, which meant the only piece of armor that still needed working on was my helmet. Day 75, I began work on the special block. The Desolate Land seemed to have a theme of grey. Like seriously, pretty much every block was grey. I was given an odd chest and it was garbage like usual. A spider egg, lucky me. Some cave spiders spawned, but they were no match for the Terminator. A skeleton gang spawned, but they also got bodied. I'm going to be honest guys, it's nothing personal. I really just don't have any space at the moment. Oi, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? A charged creeper spawned and was quickly dispatched by my power 4 bow. Naruto, I swear, if you get in this pond one more time. The next enemy the Desolate Land threw at me was an evoker, but he also got destroyed by the Terminator. I was able to collect my very first totem of undying. Now that my armor was pretty much perfect, I decided to smelt my ancient debris. It was a tough decision, but I decided to upgrade my chestplate, leggings, and pickaxe. Also at this point, Naruto had basically exterminated the entire fish population. The next day, I got back to work on the block. Some skeletons spawned, but their flimsy iron armor didn't have a chance of standing up to the Terminator. SKYBLOCK still seemed to think I wanted the odd chest, because I got given another one containing the usual trash. The Terminator is honestly such a useful guy to have. Every time something spawns, I can just sit back and let him do all the work. I got another rare chest, and it once again had an enchanted book for a fishing rod. One of the skeleton gang spawned, and after the Terminator had dealt with them, I dealt with their horses. At this point, I'm gonna have to get Naruto some swimming lessons. After the Terminator dealt with an evoker, I tried to give a totem of undying to Naruto, but he really seemed to like his dead salmon. A monster party showed up and I was pretty sure this was the end for the Terminator. I tried to help as best I could, but when the dust settled, he was no more. But the day after, it was time for the long-awaited sequel. Terminator 2. I say long awaited, it's only been about 10 seconds, but let's not talk about that. The most annoying thing about these skeleton gangs isn't actually fighting them, it's cleaning up. A charged creeper spawned and had to be taken down. This phase really seems to like charged creepers, because it kept giving me them. They're like a bad Christmas present. I made sure to repair Terminator 2 so that he could keep fighting the mobs and do all the hard work. I noticed Naruto no longer had his salmon, so I tried again with the totem. This time he actually did pick it up. After getting rid of more of these stupid skeleton horses, I did some chores like grinding the mob farm and collecting iron. I bought yet another diamond sword off Rebecca and put it on the grindstone. Unfortunately, I didn't get any good enchantments. I had enough levels to combine my other swords, and thus the Wii remote was born. I added mending to my diamond helmet, and now my armor is pretty much perfect. With an efficiency 4 netherite pickaxe, I felt like I was breezing through this phase. The block would spawn silverfish, which would have been really annoying if I didn't have Terminator 2 to help me. We're 78 days in and the chests still haven't gotten any better. Mushrooms, honey and snowballs. Really? Combining all that gear had left me with almost 0 levels, so I needed to do some grinding to regain that lost XP. The next morning, I mined a grand total of about 10 blocks before reaching the benevolent gift. I was expecting the loot to be on par with the Nether Phase, but I was painfully wrong. I had 100 seconds to wait before the next upgrade, so I visited my mob farm. After collecting the iron from the spa, I was told I had reached phase 10. The end. After trading the iron to Tracy and Rebecca at highly illegal prices, I started on the end phase. The block spawned some endermites, and get used to seeing these annoying space rats because this phase loves them. I found an ancient chest which had even worse loot than I was used to seeing, and then some endermen spawned. They got some hits in on Terminator 2 and I had to patch him up. Then the island experienced another rat infestation. I guess it's less annoying than having to fight angry bees. After yet another swarm of rats, I got an odd chest. Terminator 2 was standing on the lid, so I had to push him out of the way. The loot was complete and utter trash, just like pears. I hate that fruit with a burning passion. I started off day 80 by once again mining the block. Terminator 2 had to fight off an enderman, which meant he was due for some repairs. I went to my mob farm like usual and then got given another rare chest, and of course it had another enchanted book for a fishing rod. I wanted to get through this phase as quickly as possible because I only had 20 days left to kill both the ender dragon and the wither. I ate some delicious slices of cake and then a monster party spawned. The shulker made me levitate high in the air, but I was able to dive back down into the pond. Another swarm of purple rats spawned and Terminator 2 flung one right in my face. I wasn't sure if I accidentally hit Terminator 2 here and had to check. Thankfully everything was fine. My storage was so full I had to add yet another chest on top. A shulker spawned and immediately warped to the back of my island. They're meant to be purple, so I'm not sure why they keep spawning in white. I had a ton of coal that I had no use for, so I traded it all to Rebecca for some moderate profits. My iron farm was blocked up yet again, so I had to take care of that. Wow, more space rats. My favorite. I got an ancient chest with surprisingly good loot and then continued to mine away at the block. There's a lot of purple blocks in this phase, which my netherite pickaxe can rip through. I got my first musical chest in a while, but unfortunately it didn't contain a book and quill for me to write another masterpiece. Some endermen tried to take out Terminator 2, but I had iron on standby. I'm basically his butler at this point. I was mining away when everything went dark. The end was near. I saw that underneath the special block an end portal would spawn. I checked the benevolent gift, which had nothing of interest, and then began preparing for the dragon fight. I made sure to bring plenty of blocks, as well as 4 stacks of arrows because my bow didn't have infinity. I fixed my iron farm yet again and then watched the sunset. I may not live to see another one. The video's 100 days, so obviously I do, but anyway, let's pretend. I walked around my island making sure I said my goodbyes. Day 82, it was time to begin the battle. I filled in the 4 missing eyes of the portal and headed to the end. The first thing I noticed was just how beautiful this place looked with shaders. I drank my slow falling potion and got to work breaking the crystals. I'm not gonna lie, I missed an embarrassing amount of bow shots. For some reason, I had the accuracy of a stormtrooper. Once all the crystals were down, it was time to start landing attacks with the Wii remote. I wore the dragon down until it was time for the final hit. I leapt across and hit her square in the head, sealing her fate. The shaders just made this moment even better than usual. Thanks to all the XP, I got all the way to level 64, which would be insanely useful for maxing out my gear. I made sure to collect the egg before heading over to the end gateway. I missed the first pearl throw, but the second sent me to the outer end. I noted down the coordinates of the gateway before heading out in search of a city. The blocks I brought for the dragon fight didn't last long and I was forced to gather endstone. If I'm being brutally honest, the outer end is easily one of the worst parts of Minecraft. Sure, you've got the cities, but other than that, it's completely barren. I really hope Mojang can revamp the end the same way they did to the Nether. I spotted an end city in the distance, but judging from its structure, it would only have a couple chests. One of the weird things about 1-block Skyblock is that the endermen don't fight back unless you look them in the eyes. I killed the shulkers guarding the entrance and made my way up the alien structure. Unfortunately, the city was even worse than I thought. It didn't even have a single chest. Yay, back to playing Walking Simulator. I'd be so happy if the end could get multiple biomes, new monsters, maybe even an entire race of villagers who could sell powerful items. I mean anything's better than this. I finally found another city which was only slightly better than the last. It had a few chests and an efficiency 5 diamond pickaxe, but still no ship. Eventually, I finally found a good city that would give me the priceless elytra. After looting some at the main city, I pearled over onto the ship. I killed the shulker, looted the chests, and finally obtained the ability to fly. All I needed to do now was find a gateway to take me home, and that was a lot easier said than done. While searching, I ended up coming across another city. I pearled over to the ship and got stuck in the side, where I lost a quarter of my health. I made sure to grab the dragon head this time because I'd forgotten to get it from the other city. And of course, while I still couldn't find a gateway, I managed to find yet another city. I couldn't be bothered to loot it at this point and just continue my search. I can't describe the feeling of relief when I finally saw the beacon of light signaling a gateway. I headed through and got back home safe and sound. But this journey is not yet over. I started day 87 by organizing the mountain of loot I found from the end cities. I bought another diamond sword off of Rebecca and got to work enchanting. I wanted a godly sword to take down the wither. Instead of trying to get the enchantments I wanted from stubborn librarians, I instead decided to gather a bunch of good swords to combine together. Eventually, I had everything I needed to create the ultimate weapon. All I was missing was the XP. I was so down bad for experience that I ended up buying apples and suspicious stew off Griffin just to reach my target. One last visit to the mob farm and I had enough levels to merge the swords together. I spent 5 minutes just staring at my monitor trying to figure out what to name it. Eventually I had an idea and Exodia was forged. With smite 5 to hit undead mobs for huge damage and looting 3 to maximize my chances of getting wither skulls, this was an insane weapon. I bought a mending book off of Martin and then got to work combining all my unbreaking books. The next morning I was once again starved for XP and had to spend some time at my mob farm to get enough. I combined Unbreaking 3 and Mending but couldn't afford to put it on my elytra. What's really dumb is that if I had added the book separately it would have cost me way less XP. But regardless, I finally had a perfect elytra. I went to my mob farm to fix it up and then started harvesting my sugarcane. I had more than enough gunpowder and wasted no time crafting a ton of rockets. The first thing I did with my new powers of flight was to head over to these slabs and remove them. I did promise to get rid of them after all. I crafted my very first shulker and dyed it red. I headed into the nether because I had some skulls to collect. Getting wither skulls is never an easy process, and if you get unlucky it can take absolutely forever. On the bright side, I already had the first skull, which meant I only needed 2 more. It took a while, but eventually I got a skull and then another dropped soon after. Once I returned home, I started brewing some potions in preparation for the fight. The storage at my mob grinder was getting clogged up with useless gear, so I had to throw it all on the floor. I also mined the benevolent gift to see what phase, or if there even was a phase, after the end. I was then told I have reached the after phases, which I'm pretty sure is every phase rolled into one. I flew over to my mob grinder to grab all the string. I crafted it all into wool and turned it into beds. I had so many that I needed to craft a shulker to store them all. In case it wasn't already obvious what I'm doing, I'm going mining for ancient debris. I found a piece before even placing the beds, so surely that's a good omen. I found a decent amount at the start, but once I ran into this huge lava lake and had to change directions, things weren't quite as great. By the time I had used up all my beds, I had 6 ancient debris, which wasn't too bad. I had an extra netherite scrap at home, so if I could find one more piece of debris, I could make 2 netherite ingots. After mining in a straight line and getting no results, I had a better idea. Why not find a bastion and steal the last piece of debris? After flying around for a while, I found a bridge bastion, which aren't known to have great loot. Although they do have a nice shiny gold pile for you to take. I continued my search and found a treasure bastion, which was exactly what I wanted. I killed the piglin brutes guarding the entrance, but I still couldn't find any ancient debris. This meant I was gonna have to head into the heart of the bastion in order to get the treasure. I began shooting the piglins with my bow because trying to fight them in close combat would be extremely risky. The only problem was that I ran out of arrows. While trying to move around the bastion, I tripped over a rock and plummeted into the lava below. I was terrified of getting swarmed by brutes and made myself a small box to heal up in. I headed over to the treasure and had to fend off this piglin, which caused me to eat a golden apple. I checked the chest and was rewarded with a netherite scrap. I then began my escape. After pillaring up, I put my elytra on and soared away. I also got the advancement for finding all the nether biomes. I said hi to Naruto when I got back before smelting my ancient debris. It was a hard choice, but I ended up converting my helmet and sword to netherite. Remember when I used to have iron armor and stone tools? Before I fought the Wither on day 100, I got started on the last build project of the video. I wanted to make a temple for the dragon egg and my future beacon. Like every project I've ever done in these 100 days, I put the slabs on the wrong half and had to redo the whole island. I started building and realized I'm an idiot who forgot to turn replay mod on. Anyway, now that we have a working time lapse, I'll talk about this temple real quick. I wanted it to look like the layers of a Minecraft world, if that makes sense. You've got the end as the final destination, then the nether, then the caves, and then finally the surface with trees and wildlife. Also, I tried to make a cobblestone generator and this happened. I'm truly sorry, Gregory. I ruined the cobblestone generator. Overall, I think it turned out looking really cool. Let me know what you think. But now it's day 100. I filled my inventory with everything I would need, although I had to visit the end to grab myself a pearl. I'm not going to be fighting the wither on my main island because that would lead to everything I've worked for being destroyed. Instead, I'll be fighting it on the nether roof. I jumped up to place the final skull and missed. Let's not talk about that. I placed the final skull on my first try and then the final fight began. I hate to say it, but this was a very confused wither. It didn't fly around. In fact, it barely even attacked me. I felt almost bad killing this thing. I built a portal in order to get back down from the nether roof and was pretty surprised when I spawned in the middle of nowhere. Luckily, my island was only a few hundred blocks away. I crafted the beacon and then gathered up all the valuables I had. I put the gold blocks on the corners of the beacon to make it look cooler. And after 100 days of hardcore skyblock, this was the result. That's all from me. I'll see you next time.